There's LaMedica. I got my jokes off the internet too, so I'm going to read them for you. No, Gordon, great job. Gordon Lawsey, everybody. I didn't know we were going to start right away, waiting for the fucking band to get here. What is this? No, but tonight, actually tonight we're here to support two great men. They couldn't be here tonight. So instead, we're here to support Pat Capozzoli and Tom O'Donnell, as we said. And here's two guys that I know. They're both Republicans, okay? They're both pillars of the community, right, Pat? And they're both honest politicians. Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. You know.
I'm not really a pillar.
More than a pillar. What are we doing in a women's club anyway? I'm a little hesitant to get moving here. I mean, a women's club? I mean, what about men's clubs? Oh yeah, that's right, they do have men's clubs. It's like every other club besides this one, right? Yeah. Well, before we start, I have to ask a couple of questions, like, you know, Pat and Tom running for council again and want to get reelected. Does Caldwell really need these guys? I mean, Caldwell's been around about 100 years, right? And, you know, I'm a little worried because, well, let's face it, Pat spent his whole adult life in prison, right? Well, he did. You didn't know that, Pat, right? Oh, you're a corrections officer. Same fucking thing. Pat spent most of his life in prison, but, you know, but wait, you are a corrections officer, right? Okay. I'll tell you what, corrections officer. If I make any mistakes tonight, you correct me, okay? So we got this right. And Tom O'Donnell. Tom is a great guy. Sometimes I can't find the words to like describe Tom, so I'll just say what everybody else is, you know, thinking. He's shady. He's very shady. You must have a hell of a lawyer, Tom. Well, tonight is standing room only, good turnout. And you know what that means, standing room only? Colin Kaepernick will not be here tonight. This fucking guy doesn't stand for anything, right? I'll tell you what, I can't root for the 49ers, I can't watch them on TV, I gotta turn my back on them. I can't do it. Now, Pat, what's your favorite football team?
The Washington Redskins.
He said the Washington Redskins. I can't think of a more politically incorrect name for a team than the Washington Redskins. Actually, you know what I just read yesterday? I just read that the Washington Redskins is the only NFL team without a website. This is true. Evidently, they can't put 3 W's together. Listen, Chris Christie was supposed to be here tonight, but I think he heard that Taco Bell has extended their drive-through hours. So you're not, oh, here, no, that's not him. Okay. Actually, I just read in the paper that Chris Christie just shot down a proposal to raise the minimum wage to $15, you hear this? To $15 an hour? And all the fast food workers said, Chris, after all we did for you. But you know, we're not here to make fun of Republicans tonight. Nope, no sir, we're here to make fun of Democrats. Right? Would that be fun? But I gotta tell you, I'm not like one of those cheesy comedians, not one of those guys that would like, you know, tell cheesy jokes. Like, I'll give you an example. I'm not gonna tell this one. Oh, you heard it? I'm not gonna tell the one about, you know, Monica Lewinsky is now a Republican. Evidently a Democrat left a bad taste in her mouth. I'm not gonna do it. No. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna tell jokes like, you know, what do you get when you cross a corrupt politician and a crooked lawyer? Chelsea Clinton? I'm not going to tell that one. I promise I won't do that. I'm not going to tell jokes like, you know, Monica Lewinsky would make a terrible lawyer. You know how I know? She sucked as an intern. I'm not going to do it. I'm absolutely not going to do it. I'm not going to tell jokes like in 1990, they took a poll in Washington, D.C. Not a Pollock, a poll. And they asked women, would you have sex with President Clinton? And 86% said never again. I'm not going to do jokes like that. No, I promise. But what I did hear is that Hillary Clinton, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, She was appearing at a gifted student program in New York City. These are all smart kids, 5th and 6th grade. And she said, class, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you ask me a question. So right away, little Kenneth's hand went up real quick. She said, you have a question, son? He said, yeah. She goes, what's your name? He said, my name is Kenneth. Oh, that's a beautiful name. You have a question for me, Kenneth? He said, no, Mrs. Clinton, I have 3. Number 1, what happened in Benghazi? Number 2, how could you run for president if you can't control 2 email accounts? Number 3, what happened to the $6 billion when you were Secretary of State? Just then, the bell rang for recess. Kids being kids, they got up and they went out and played. 20 minutes goes by, they reconvene. Mrs. Clinton says, where were we? Oh yeah, I was going to let you ask me questions. Who wants to ask me a question? This time a different boy, Johnny, raised his hand. She says, oh, what's your name? He says, Johnny. She said, that's a beautiful name, son. Do you have a question for me? He said, no, Mrs. Clinton, I have 5 questions for you. Number 1, what happened in Benghazi? Number 2, how could you run for president if you can't handle 2 email accounts? Number 3, what happened to the $6 billion when you were Secretary of State? Number 4, why did the recess bell ring 20 minutes early? And number 5, what the fuck did you do with Kenneth? Have you seen her lately, though? Have you seen Hillary on TV? She's gaining a little bit of weight, right? She better watch out. She gains 10 more pounds, Bill is going to start hitting on her again. But I shouldn't talk about weight because 4 months ago I was 280 pounds. It's true. Lost 50 pounds. Where were you? Don't clap now, really. It's embarrassing. This is like my coming out party, except I'm not coming out of the closet, I'm coming out of the pantry. 200, thank you.
Do you have any more water?
280 pounds, people ask me all the time, how do you feel? You look great, how do you feel? I'm fucking hungry. That's how I feel. Starving. I was eating on average 10,000 calories a day, I went down to 1,000 calories. All right? Scary, right? But my wife, when she said, I'm worried about your health, I think you might want to lose some weight, I said, look, if the good Lord wanted me to touch my toes, he would have put them on my lap. He didn't do that. I heard that for every pound you lose, you take 4 pounds of pressure off your knees. Your knees. I didn't know I had knees until 4 weeks ago. I also heard that for every 20 pounds you lose, your penis looks an inch bigger. So I'm not stopping until I'm down to 85 pounds. And then what I'm hoping is I'm going to get some work in pornography because I don't want to do this stand-up bullshit anymore. Except if I'm 85 pounds, where am I going to get a job? A third world country like Biafra or something like that? It's not going to work. Well, anyway, as of today, I'm 227 pounds. You're going to clap again. Not one of you clapped when I downed 3 pounds of fettuccine and a 35-ounce steak at Rosillo's. Not one of you. Because you know what? Dieting is easy. You just don't eat. You know what's hard? Overeating is hard. I'll tell you, when I was heavy, I was tired all the time. I'd fall asleep at the drop of a hat. Ben, I would fall asleep in the middle of a conversation. I'd fall asleep behind the wheel. I'd fall asleep at my desk, anywhere. You know what's interesting? The only place I didn't fall asleep was in a buffet line. But, sleeping is not overrated. I mean, because I want to go in my sleep. I think that's a great way to die. That's the way my grandfather went, in his sleep. Not screaming and yelling like the other passengers in his car. You knew my grandfather. I had an Uncle Sal, too, who used to tell a joke. Poor Uncle Sal had Alzheimer's, and that's how he passed away, at Alzheimer's. Told the same joke over and over. It was new to him. It was different to us every time. So that's, may he rest in peace. That's another way. Grandfather died in his sleep. Uncle Sal, Alzheimer's. I had an Uncle Frank. Unfortunately, he died in Vietnam. He got blown up. May he rest in pieces. But, you know what's funny? People say, well, how'd you get started doing stand-up? Why do you tell jokes? Why do you do stand-up? Believe it or not, I needed a way to supplement my 10,000 calorie a day diet. That's what I was trying to do, except it didn't work out that good. Because here's what happened. My first gig was last year. I did a benefit at the Franklin Steakhouse. Got paid nothing. Last February, I did a benefit. I got to work with J.J. Walker. It was a lot of fun. Good time. Remember Good Times? Dynamite. Interesting guy. It was a benefit, so again, I got stiffed. Nothing. A couple weeks ago, I did 10 minutes at a golf outing. It was a charity golf outing. 0. Are you guys getting paid tonight?
Here.
Here. And now tonight, it's for the benefit of Pat and Tom, which is a great cause, you know, but all the money goes to their campaign. I'm fucked again. No wonder I lost 50 pounds. You know, if I do any more benefits, you know what I'm going to look like? I'm going to show you what I'm going to look like. This is what I'm going to look like. If I do any more benefits, this is what I'm going to look like. No more benefits. Done. I mean, $10 or something. You know, Pat. Change something. That's later. When you go to the movies, you talk back to the screen. Take it easy. Pat Capozzoli, ladies and gentlemen. People say to me all the time, they say, you know, your diet has to cost you money, right? It's expensive. It's $300 a month. When I tell people $300 a month, they look at me like, oh my God, that's so expensive. Expensive? I was going for $300 a week between Rosillo's and Fortes. And I don't mean only Rosillo's and Fortes. I mean everything on Bloomfield Avenue between Rosillo's and Fortes. That's true. Those of you that know me know that's true. My wife says, look, now that you lost the weight, you lost 50 pounds, why don't you join a gym? I said, nah, what are you busting my balls for? Join a gym. I just lost 50 pounds. Give me a break. Let me enjoy it. I said, you know what? I'll join the gym next year. She says, you're always procrastinating. You're always. I said, well, that's why I can't join a gym. Because what you don't know is that a couple of months ago, I joined a support group for procrastinators. And she said, how's that going? I said, I don't know. We haven't met yet. Here's what happened. I lost the weight, and you know, it's funny. You don't like the way you look when you're heavy. So now you lose weight, and now your clothes hang on, you know? They really hang on. So what I did was I went to a men's store a couple weeks ago to buy some new clothes. A nice blue shirt, pinstripe suit. Here I am, I'm looking in the mirror, the salesman's standing next to me, and I says, oh, this left sleeve is a little short. He says, oh, no, sir. Grab the sleeve, and you hold it like this. It'll make the other sleeve look the same size. I said, okay. I said, but this lapel's pulling away from the collar. He goes, no, sir. If you keep your neck like this, it'll look even. I said, but the pant leg on the right is a little longer than the pant leg on the left. He said, no, just bunch it up a little. Now I look like a fucking Mamalou. But he's the salesman, right? He knows what he's talking about. So I buy the suit and I decide to wear it home. I'm walking down the street on my way home, and wouldn't you know, 2 nuns are coming towards me. The first nun says to the other nun, look at this poor bastard. The other one says, yeah, but doesn't that suit fit him perfectly? I am not going to join a gym, my dear wife. I want to pace myself. I'm going to be 52 years old in a couple months. I think it's time to pace myself. But what I am going to do is I'm going to change what I call the bathroom in my house. I call it the John, and I'm going to call it the gym. Because when I get up in the middle of the night, my wife says, where are you going? I'm going to say, I'm going to the gym. Where the fuck are you going? My uncle was in a nursing home. I went to visit him, and I happened to see these 2 guys in wheelchairs having lunch, and they're talking, and I hear the one guy say, I'm not regular. I haven't been regular in 5 days. The other guy says, oh, you gotta be kidding me. He says, I'm regular every day. His buddy says, really? He says, sure. He says, I'll give you an example. By 8 a.m., I urinate for the first time. By 9 a.m., I move my bowels for the first time. And then the guy starts to cry. His buddy goes, what are you crying for? He says, they don't come and get me out of bed until 10 a.m. That's the way we're gonna end up, dribbling all over ourselves, right? I think this table started already. Can we get a towel for this table? But it doesn't always have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way, because in the same nursing home, there's a beautiful story. Two older people, both in their 80s. They meet at the nursing home, a widow and a widower. Well, they decide to get married 1 year after they meet. So they have the wedding, all the nursing home people are there. It's their wedding night. She goes into the bathroom, she slips on a negligee, 85 years old. Picture this, you won't be able to get it out of your mind, I promise. She has the negligee on, she puts some powder, she shuts the lights, and slips into bed. He rolls over, puts his hand on her breast, and she says, "Stop." He said, "What's the matter?" She goes, "Before we go any further, I need to tell you something." He said, "What's the matter?" She said, "I have acute angina." He says, "I hope so, because your tits are ugly." Acute angina. I think it's kind of creepy thinking about, like, old love. I think, you like that, acute angina? I've never seen one. It's creepy. It's really creepy thinking about, old love. But young love, I mean, that's something, it's nice to see, right? Like, there's this young couple. They're in their early 20s, and they want to consummate the relationship. And what happens is they can't go to her house, parents are home, can't go to his house, same reason. So they decide that they're going to consummate the relationship in an old colonial cemetery, like we have in the middle of town here. Old colonial cemetery, with the headstones. And so 1 o'clock in the morning, he gets her to go into the cemetery, and he kind of wedges her up against the headstone, for leverage. Guys, you know what I mean? He's got her up against the headstone, and they're going at it for about 2 or 3 hours. Remember, this is young love. He finishes the job, takes her home back to her parents' house. Next morning she gets up, she's complaining. She's got some discomfort down there. So she says, "I'm going to call the gynecologist." She calls the gynecologist, says, "Come right in." She comes in. You know this is the story, because the gynecologist doesn't say, "Come right in." You got to wait 4 or 5 weeks for this guy, right? She comes into the gynecologist's office. He says, "You have to take your clothes off." So she disrobes. He checks her head to toe, front to back. He says, "Honey, tell me again, how old are you?" She says, "Why do you ask?" He says, "It's the weirdest thing. How old are you?" She says, "I'm 24. Why?" He said, "Because it says on your ass you died in 1783. Listen, we got a great show for you. First up is the biggest ass that I know. We got Sean Gaffney. Let me tell you about Sean. He's been a comedian for over 6 years. He's a good friend of mine. That's why I got to read the card. He opened for national headliners like Gilbert Gottfried, Vic DiPotetto, Ben Bailey. He performs in New York City at the Stand, the Gotham Comedy Club, Broadway Comedy Club, throughout New Jersey. Give it up, Sean Gaffney, everybody. Keep it going for Lou, everybody. Give it up for Lou.
Lou, join the goddamn shit, man. Join the goddamn shit. What's up, Women's Club?